So welcome. My name is Daniel. I am the Senior Vice President of Scholarship Programs at the Hispanic Scholarship Fund. Pleasure to be here. Prior to my current role, I've actually been at Hsf for 5 years. And prior to my current role, I worked in admissions at Yale University for a few years and then moved out to LA where I started working for Hsf. In my current responsibilities include managing all our scholarship programs, and also helping with the execution of our student and parent programs. And so despite what the name, I think, signals in a lot of individuals' minds, we support students of all backgrounds and ethnicities through our various programs that we administer. And so, yes, some of them are specifically for either low-income students or students who identify as Hispanic or Latino, but we also have programs that cater to students of all backgrounds. And so it's a pleasure to be here and to discuss some of those programs that are most relevant to the students you serve.
Thanks, Daniel. Hi, everyone. My name's Alan Royal, and I am the Senior Program Manager of Outreach and Partnerships at the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation. Very glad to be here with you all this afternoon on the College Access discussion panel. I've been with Jack Kent Cooke Foundation for almost 9 years. I started out as an educational advisor in our Young Scholars program and was fortunate to work with some incredible students for about 6 years in that role before transitioning into outreach in 2017. And I'll spend a little bit of time talking about sort of the scholarship opportunities in detail here in a few minutes. We're going to take about 15 minutes each to discuss the representative opportunities at our organizations. And then we'll spend the last half hour or so in the Q&A session to discuss both our scholarships and sort of how we've been adjusting during this time of COVID-19 to better serve students and be sure that we remain accessible with our services to as many students as possible. Kent Cooke Foundation, we are a nonprofit grants and scholarships provider based in the Northern Virginia area, about 25 miles outside of Washington, D.C. And our mission is simply to advance the education of promising students who have financial need. And so we've been in existence since the year 2000, and over that time period have been able to serve close to 2,800 students in our programs and awarded over $222 million in scholarships, as well as over $115 million in grants to other organizations that serve similar student populations. And so we're very fortunate to have the opportunity to do this work at that level financially. And again, to be able to work with amazing students that have financial need, demonstrated financial need. We have 3 scholarship programs that we offer. And so I'm going to spend most of the time talking about the college scholarship program, but I'll also mention our Young Scholars program and our undergraduate transfer scholarship. And then again, if you all have specific questions about any of those towards the end, you can definitely ask. All right, I'll begin with the college scholarship program. Again, this is an undergraduate scholarship program that's available to current high school seniors that demonstrate financial need, that are college bound, and seeking to enroll in competitive 4-year colleges and universities across the nation. And I like to talk about the program in its entirety sort of as a holistic experience and not simply just a scholarship. So you see, we are fortunate again to be able to award up to $40,000 per year for 4 years for students to complete their bachelor's degree. But the experience with the program also involves personalized advising. So each student gets connected with an educational advisor that's on our staff that works directly with them on their transition to college and sort of understanding how to take full advantage of campus resources, network with other students, and sort of take advantage of internship opportunities and basically become acclimated to how to maximize that experience. And so that advisor plays a key role in sort of guiding them through college. And then in addition to the advising and the financial support, The scholar community, I think, is also a very critical component of what the Cook Foundation offers. Many of our scholars, our Cook scholars, attend some of the same campuses and have the opportunity to meet each other and develop relationships during their time in the program. Again, through those advising relationships, they get connected online. We host webinars throughout the school year. And we also have an annual event called Scholars Weekend, where we invite all of the Cook scholars to the Washington, D.C. area to sort of, again, meet each other, network, meet Cook alumni that have moved into the workforce and continue to sort of expand their horizons in that manner. And then finally, students that receive the Cook Scholarship also have the opportunity to apply for graduate scholarship money as well. So we're really seeking to support them even beyond graduation in graduate school and on into their careers as well. And so if you have students that might be interested or good fit for this opportunity, the application is currently open. It's open until October 30th, and you can access it. Students can access it on the Common App. And so students would most likely be familiar with Common App, as they are likely utilizing it to apply to some of their colleges now. But they can create an account and then search Jack Kent Cooke Foundation and apply for that scholarship right alongside the other college applications that they're completing in Common App. And so the first thing they'll want to do, though, is to be sure that they are eligible to apply. The scholarship is competitive. We receive about 5,000 applications each year, and typically are able to award about 60 to 70 new scholars each year. But I always like to encourage students that, even though those numbers sound a little intimidating, you can't win if you don't try. You got to shoot your shot, give yourself the opportunity. And I personally believe there's a lot of value in going through the application process in and of itself, regardless of, where you might land in terms of the outcome. So the eligibility requirements, they have to currently be seniors. And then they have to be planning to enroll in a four-year college in the fall of 2021. So not planning to take a gap year or anything of that nature, but ready to get started next fall. And then they need to have a minimum cumulative unweighted GPA of 3.5. And then the income requirement is that they need to have a maximum family adjusted gross income of $95,000 per year. So that's the maximum. Typically, the average income of scholars that we select hovers around Pell Grant eligibility, but we take into account, all sorts of dynamics when thinking about, family size, location, cost of living in a particular region, and want to be sure that we're allowing as many students as possible that can demonstrate real financial need to have a chance to receive the scholarship. And then really quickly, the application requirements, just so you're somewhat familiar with those. Again, within Common Application is where they're working. They're going to self-report their finances. And then later, we're going to ask them to submit the CSS profile to verify that income, but they won't have to do that initially upon submission. And then we'll ask for grades and an official transcript, a couple of recommendations. We'll ask them about extracurricular activities and honors that they may have received. And this is a very important part of the application, an important component, because we are an academic-based scholarship, but are very interested in students' other activities and how those contribute to who they are as a person and their time during college, or during high school rather. And then we'll ask them a little bit about their college plans, what they're interested in majoring in, and thoughts about where they want to apply for college. And we'll ask them a few short answer questions about how they see themselves fitting into the Cook Scholar community, in addition to having access to their Common App personal statement as well. Okay, oops, too fast there. So that was a quick summary of the college scholarship. For those of you that might be working with younger students or have connections to younger students, I want to be sure and mention the Young Scholars Program as well. The Young Scholars Program is actually for current 7th grade students, so students that are entering 7th grade this year. This is a 5-year pre-college scholarship program. And so it functions very similarly to the college scholarship program in that they get connected with an educational advisor who works with them throughout high school. And they do receive a scholarship budget during that time to pursue enrichment activities and other supports that sort of help boost their educational opportunities throughout high school. So for those eligibility requirements, we're looking for students that have done well since the beginning of 6th grade in their classes, mostly A's or all A's in their core academic subjects, and are currently residing in the United States and planning to attend high school in the US. And then also that same income requirement of $95,000 per year. And that application actually opens in January of 2021. So again, if you have students that you know that are currently in 7th grade, entering 7th grade that might fit that bill, they can look forward to being able to apply for a Young Scholars Program in January. And then finally, the undergraduate transfer scholarship. This scholarship is specifically for community college students who want to transfer to a 4-year university to complete their bachelor's degree. And this, again, I feel is a very unique scholarship opportunity. One of the few scholarship opportunities in the nation that specifically is designed to support community college transfer students. And we're constantly working to build partnerships around getting as many community college students aware of this opportunity as possible. So if you know of a student that's currently a sophomore or has recently graduated in the last 5 years from community college, they could also potentially be eligible to apply. Again, planning to enroll in the fall, minimum GPA of a 3.5, and a maximum income of $95,000. And the undergraduate transfer scholarship will actually remain open. It's currently open and will remain open until January 6th of 2021. Okay, want to spend a little bit of time just sort of giving you some quick updates about how the foundation has sort of responded to the new normal that we're all adjusting to with COVID-19 and sort of dealing with everything remotely. And so the biggest thing that sort of hit us initially in moving through the summer is that this is a time period where we hosted most of our events, both outreach events as well as orientation events for new scholars. And so all of those were switched to a virtual platform. And so we've seen, a pretty positive response to that. It's definitely changed the nature of orienting to the program and the networking aspect of getting to know scholars, since they haven't had the opportunity to meet each other face to face like normal. But that's one of the major adjustments that we have had to make. And then secondly, we opted to be test blind in the review process. So those of you that may already be familiar with the college scholarship know that in the past there was the test score requirement that went with the eligibility requirements. And in response to the studies that we're seeing that are really being pushed to the forefront and understanding that, this is a unique time, not have access to be able to take these easily. The leadership was very important to be test blind this year in the review process. And that also goes for students who may have had to adjust their teachers who may have had to adjust their grading during the spring semester and award pass or no pass grades. So we are in the process of 20. And then finally, understanding too that without access to be able to move around in the world and do things in the same way with the they have before, the extracurricular opportunities and the service activities that students may have been involved in during that spring semester were much more limited. And so we're taking all of these things into account as we prepare for the review process this year. We see students taking advantage of whatever creative and may adjust to still have impacts in their community. And
Thank you, Alan. I think you started to break off a little bit at the end. Didn't want to jump in and interrupt, but I think we're good on your end. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he did freeze as well. All right, thank you, Nancy. So let me do this. He was actually going to lead the slides, but Alan, can you still hear us, or should I project my own screen? Okay, I can start projecting. So give me just one quick second while I take his screen off and I can project mine. All right, perfect. So let me just put this in a mode. That makes sense. Perfect. All right. So while Alan gets back, and Alan, you may have to, I think you might have to reboot. You still seem frozen. I'll go ahead and start sharing on HSF. So really excited to have you here. For those of you who joined us a little bit late, my name is Daniel This, and I'm Senior Vice President of Scholarship Programs at the Hispanic Scholarship Fund. I'll spend the majority of my time. Are you back, Alan? Oh, I think it's still frozen. He's coming in and out. Okay. I'll send them a quick text just so that he's aware. Give me 1 second. I apologize. Okay. And I think it was coming in still choppy. So I muted, I texted, part of the game. But let's keep going. I'll share about HSF. And so I'll start with who we are. So our mission is to empower families with knowledge and resources to successfully complete a higher education while providing scholarships and support services to as many exceptional students as possible. I want to highlight, actually, before I even jump into what we do, that we support students of all backgrounds, races, and ethnicities. It is true that the majority of students we support through our major program, which is the Hsf Scholarship Program, are students who self-identify as Hispanic or Latino, but we do run different programs across the country, whether they're day-long, weekend-long, or 5-day overnight programs, as well as administer scholarship programs that support students of all backgrounds. And so we're very proud of that, that we're able to support students who represent the great diversity found in this country. And so how do we do it? So I'll start with focusing on HSF scholarships. So since 1975, which is the year in which we were founded, HSF has awarded $650 million in scholarships. This past year, we received, across all our scholarship programs, we received 115,000 applications. We're able to award over 3,000 scholarships, totaling $31.2 million. And so how did this work? So the main scholarship that we administer is what we call the Hsf Scholarship. And so for this one, I have a few slides prepared to discuss the eligibility requirements. But above and beyond the Hsf Scholarship, we have 5 tenant scholarships, which are, if you were to go on their websites, you would not recognize them as scholarships that are administered by HSF. Actually, all HSF branding is hidden or not visible in these different sites. And so we administer the Gates Scholarship, the Wells Fargo Academic Leaders Fellowship Program, the Greater Cincinnati Scholarship, Toyota West Dallas, and we are a partner along with UNCF and 2 other organizations in helping to administer the Gates Millennium Scholars Program, which is no longer accepting applications. That program is actually sunsetting, but we did generously receive a grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which funded the Gates Millennium Scholarship to fund and support students through the GATE Scholarship. So that'll be another program that I'll spend some time quickly discussing at the end. We also have endowed scholarships, and so we have 22 scholarships that we have had for almost 2 decades now. And so these are programs that we have essentially are tied to an endowment that our organization manages, and every single year we take from that endowment to award and support students. And so these scholarships, as well as attendance scholarships, as I mentioned earlier, allow us to support a wide array of students from different parts of the country who represent the diversity found in our country. And so what I'll do is actually, I'm going to present or focus on 3 different items. And so one is our programs and events that are specifically tailored to support students who are in the age range of students that you work with, which is high school students. And we do have some programs that are available to students of all ages, including middle school students. I'll then briefly talk about Hsf Scholarship program and then the GATE Scholarship. So program and events. And so I'll start off with just sort of the basics. And so we have what we call student and parent programs. And so these are 16 events that are held yearly. And they're broken down into our College 101, College Camps, College Prep Saturdays, the YLI, and the Young Leader Summit. I'll focus on these in the next slide. But these are programs that are open and free to the public. The YLI, which is the Youth Leadership Institute, and the Young Leader Summit, those are application-based. And so the applications for those open at the beginning of the year. So it'll be in the winter/spring of 2021. And they are for rising high school seniors. So students apply during the 2nd term of their junior year. And students who are selected for either the YLI or the YLS, so it's 3 programs total, and we select 200 students per program, actually typically, historically, have been flown out to the campus that hosts these programs. And for 5 days, they undertake intensive workshops that help prepare them for the financial aid process, the scholarship application process, college application process, and also we do a lot of workshops around career. Our goal is to really work against this idea of undermatching. It's an academic term, but essentially it means that students, predominantly students who are low income, students of color, students who live in rural areas, tend to undermatch when it comes to the colleges they attend, which means that they are either not applying or decide to not attend institutions that they are a good fit for based on their academic and extracurricular performance. And that trend actually continues in the workforce. And so you'll have students who are exceptionally bright, exceptionally talented, who did the work, are graduating, let's say, with a degree in aerospace engineering from a great institution, and are not applying to internships or jobs at a place like Boeing or NASA, where they may actually find a great role where they can utilize all the skills that they have obtained during their undergraduate career. And so we do find that trend, and actually, well, not only us, academics have studied that trend sort of persists as students are transitioning to workforce. So even those students for these 2 programs are very young, and they're just going into the senior year of high school, we're really working and thinking long-term and what their college experience can be, and then trying to make sure that we give them the tools and skills and confidence to excel once they're in college. We do engage with our scholars and alumni, and so once students become scholars, we have different programs that we put on for them. These programs are mostly to help prepare for transition to college as well as transition to career. And then we also have partnership programs, and so this is how we engage different individuals who help us in fulfilling our mission and who also help us in reaching the maximum number of students possible. And so now let me focus a little bit more on the student and parent programs. So the Road to College program, College 101, and College Camps, these are programs that we actually travel across the country. Again, historically, this past year with COVID, we actually did have to cancel all our programs through the end of the year, and most likely will continue to cancel programs until it is safe to start traveling and gathering people in confined spaces. But in lieu of that, we're actually still hosting these programs virtually. So if you visit our website, hsf.net, there's a calendar that you can actually see all the events that are upcoming. So we're bringing this particular year to a close, but you'll see that we do still have a few events slated for this term, which would essentially mount to the end of December, and then we'll be posting next year's calendar soon so that you're able to virtually attend these sessions as well as invite students. These are free to attend. And really, we have different sessions that help prepare students for the scholarship and financial aid application process, as well as the college application process. The YLI, which you see at the bottom, again, is open to students. We actively recruit the best and brightest students from across the country who self-identify as Latino and bring them together for an empowerment program. The Youth Leadership Consortium, which Jack Kent Cooke is also a part of, is a consortium of different organizations from across the country who are really passionate about ensuring that students of all backgrounds, specifically students of low-income backgrounds, are maximizing their potential. And so through the Youth Leadership Consortium, we have College Prep Saturdays, which are held across the country, virtually again until further notice, but once things are able to resume, these are held across the country, as well as the Young Leader Summit, which we highly encourage you to visit. For this particular website, I'll send a link during Q&A so you can visit the YLC website and then learn more about the programs, as well as just pin a note on it so that you can invite students to apply for the Young Leader Summit when relevant early next year. It's an exceptional opportunity. So this year we actually virtually hosted it, quote unquote, with USC, and had exceptional turnout, 200 really bright students, built a lot of positive energy. And it's a program that we're excited because it's put together by and put on by different organizations who bring different insights and different levels of experience and in particular communities. And so we do think it's a very powerful program that has a benefit for almost anyone who participates. All right, so now HSF. So HSF Scholarship, this is the biggest scholarship that we administer. It is a merit-based scholarship for high-achieving Latino students. And students can apply as early as their senior year of high school. The application opens January 1st every single year and closes February 15th. And then it's a two-phase process. And so phase one, which is the 6-week process at the beginning of the year, students take about 30 minutes, 40 minutes max to complete. Actually takes students sometimes less if they have everything they need in front of them. And then we select the most competitive students as finalists. And from the finalists, we select 10,000 students each year. This past year for this particular program, we received a little bit over 80,000 applicants and were able to select 10,000 scholars. Because we cannot award all students who are selected as scholars a monetary award, we award about 2,000 students from this program with a financial award. We essentially, the 10,000 students who are selected are given access to our support services, which include career services, includes mentoring services that they want to be matched with a mentor, allows them to apply to the different conferences we host, and more importantly, gives them access to the network that they can then utilize and leverage as they move through their undergraduate careers, as well as they enter the workforce. Eligibility requirements are posted. These can also be found on our website. And for the students, and again, it's about 2,000 of the 10,000 students who are selected as HSF scholars each year. Their award can range from $500 to $5,000 based on demonstrated need. And this is actually after we look at their financial aid award letters. And so it's not so much based on income. Students who are low income and go to very competitive schools actually tend to usually have the least amount of need. And so they're students who get $500 to $1,000. So students who are more middle class actually tend to be students who get the largest awards because their financial aid packages tend to typically, not always, not be as robust, and there's more of a family commitment that needs to be made. And so it is, those ranges are based on demonstrated financial need, based on financial aid packages that students receive, not on income. All right, and then the next program that I want to just quickly cover is the Gates Scholarship Program. So the Gates Scholarship is a highly selective last dollar scholarship for outstanding minority high school seniors who come from low-income households, and each year we award 300 students. Students are eligible for funding for up to 5 years, 6 years to graduate, which means that we do allow 1 year of deferment, 5 years of funding. Students who are eligible to apply, you can see here eligibility, they do need to identify with one of the following ethnic groups. Low income, we measure based on Pell. They do need to be a U.S. citizen, national or permanent resident, and they do need to plan to enroll full-time in a 4-year degree program at a U.S. accredited non-for-profit private or public college or university, and then of course have high academics. And so the minimum GPA you see there is 3.3. The ideal candidate is really someone who not only has an outstanding academic record, but someone who has demonstrated leadership ability and exceptional personal success skills. So, the odd thing about this or not odd, the reality about this program is that because of the students that we select, we see a wide range of financial aid need. Even though all students are low income, some students, really based on the institutions they choose to attend, and we're agnostic when it comes to the institutions that they attend. They can attend their dream school, whatever that may be. But certain schools have just more robust financial aid packages. And so we select students prior to us knowing where they attend. Once they're selected, they let us know where they plan to attend. And so the amount of award money that goes out is pretty vast and varied. But what is true for all our scholars is that we really work on developing them as young leaders. We select young leaders because we do understand that a huge benefit of this program is a network, who they, the exposure they'll have to current leaders or more senior leaders via workshops that we have, scholar advocacy newsletters that we sent out, and really more than anything, the network that they'll have with each other and other cohorts within the Gates program is something that will really help them develop, and then of course transition into the workforce and be agents of change, moving forward. And so it's something we're really excited about. And so we actively are looking for students who are not only academically talented, but who are already having an impact on their respective communities. Students who are selected, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term last dollar, which I'm sure all of you are, but just in case there is someone on this call who isn't, it essentially means that we will cover the full cost of attendance that's not already covered by other financial aid and the expected family contribution. And the last portion is depending on how universities package financial aid, the expected family contribution is either what's determined by the federal government or the methodology that's used by the school. And so because we work in partnership with our schools, if a school calculates their own family contribution, that is what we base the award on. If they use the federal methodology, which is through the FAFSA, then the award is based on that. And so again, the scholarship is renewable for up to 5 years. As mentioned earlier, we provide not only scholarship dollars, but a whole host of support services. And we really think of support holistically, thinking about mentorship, career, leadership, knowledge, and just overall wellness of the students. And here's the timeline. So the application is currently open. Similar to the Hsf program, the initial application is a short questionnaire, should take about, to be fair, 40 minutes to an hour to complete. It does not require, at least initially, recommendations or even an official transcript for this first phase. If students are then move forward to verification and then to phase 2 of the application, that is where we collect transcripts, test scores if available. This year we're being more flexible given sort of the impact on test scores due to the pandemic, and then also recommendations from one from the counselor and 2 from the teachers. And so those are submitted when students move on to phase 2. And so it's currently open. I'll put the link to the website in the chat as soon as we start taking Q&As. The application does close September 15th, and so students have about 3 weeks to submit. Not too late. Again, it takes 40 to an hour to submit. They could do this over the weekend while watching Netflix. And then if they move down the pipeline, we will ask for additional materials. There is an interview process that takes place in March, and then we select 300 scholars on April 20th of every year. This is our website. I will be posting it in the chat. And again, the current application, and this is the only application. If students do not submit phase 1, they cannot move down the pipeline. Is currently open and closes on September 15th. And so with that, let me stop sharing and we can start taking Q&A. All right. And so I do see that there's a few individuals who have signed up to sort of just ask their question live. But let me just quickly go through the questions that have been posted in the chat, and then we'll call on the individuals who have asked to ask questions live. And so the first question, and I did actually see post, but the first question is from Carla, and her question is, what resources are available for undocumented students? I did see that other members provided resources, so definitely visit those resources. But I'll just quickly say what we do or what we provide for undocumented students, and then Alan, if you want to just briefly touch on that, and then we'll move on to the next question. So from the HSF side, the HSF program and the GATE Scholarship program, both of which were sort of the two I focused on, there are citizenship requirements, but we do administer scholarship programs. You saw a list of endowed and other tenant programs, which are open to all students regardless of citizenship. So you can visit our website, and then I'll always send us a message in the message center to inquire more. But more importantly, the programs that we administer, so the College 101, the college camps, the college prep Saturdays, those we don't even ask, and so we actually don't know. And so those are open to all students. Those events are being held virtually this year. And so if you go to our website and see which events are upcoming, especially starting next term, which is January through June, anyone's invited to attend. And it's really useful information. And I know that sometimes students are really just thinking about sort of monetary benefits, and that is definitely important. But we also are strong believers in that social capital and knowledge and what we pass on to students via those programs is just as important. And so highly encourage you to share those opportunities to students of all backgrounds. Alan?
Yeah, thanks. Apologies again for earlier and freezing up on everyone. But yeah, for Cook scholarships, we do accept applications from undocumented students, DACA status students, international students. So we do not ask or request information about citizenship status. The only thing that we have to have as part of our requirements is that they're a resident in the United States. So we do sometimes get a handful of international students that reside in other countries, and unfortunately we can't accept those, but undocumented students, absolutely.
And then there's a question from Diane, and it's really a clarification question, which is the HSF scholarship, is it not open for undocumented students? That's correct. So that particular program is not open to undocumented students. It is open to students who have DACA status. And so if a student you're working with, especially students who are currently undergraduates, do have DACA status, and it's actually open to any student who's eligible to apply for federal aid. So it could also be an asylee, TVZ, et cetera. They are able to apply to the HSF scholarship program. But students who are completely undocumented are not eligible for that particular program. All right, and then another question from Claudia. So some of your slides didn't show up. Oh, okay. So essentially Claudia is just asking, she wasn't able to see some of the slides at the end. And so really the last slide, which with the application September 15th, is the GATE scholarship. And so Alan and I actually right now will be sharing the links to our respective websites and our respective scholarship opportunities in the chat. And so you can visit. But my last slides were for the GATE scholarship, and that application is currently open to eligible students and closes on September 15th. And so I'll share the link in there so that you can visit the website and learn more. All right. And so there are a few individuals who I don't know if you accidentally clicked that you wanted to ask a question live, but I'm going to bring you up. And so the first one is Larry Ramos. And so Larry, I'm going to just add you, and then hopefully it's not an accident. So get ready. All right. Well, I thought I added Larry, but I think Larry disappeared. I hope I'm not doing this wrong. So Zenia Henderson? No, they're not coming up. Are they coming up on your end, Alan?
I see when you click, they disappear, but I can't see anything.
So Zenia, if you had a question, post it in the chat. You literally disappeared as I tried to invite you up.
It looks like there's a couple more. Maybe one of them might work, but.
All right, let's try.
One of the comments in the chat says, when being added to the stage, be sure to click share audio and video.
All right, so that should have been prompted. All right, so then the last one, Ella Johnson, we're about to add you. When you get prompted to, let's see if you can share. And if not, all right, they're not coming up. Everyone became shy at the last minute. That's okay. That's all right. All
Looks
right,
like you
so
got
we
one
do have,
in the chat, Daniel.
yeah, if you're feeling shy or have changed your mind about being brought on stage, that's okay. Feel free to put the questions in the chat. We're actually still taking questions in the chat. And so there's a question from Ken. So it says, I would be curious to know if you have identified any best practices for your mentoring program, specifically what actions have best supported improving graduation rates. So that's a great question. And I think, Alan, I know your organization also has just amazing support services for students. And so maybe we can both take a stab at this. And so I'll just quickly start by saying that there's two things that we do that really work best. One is we really empower students to take advantage of the resources at their respective campuses. And while this seems simple and intuitive, because of the students that most of our programs support, and so it's students who are low income or students who identify as students of color, even students, specifically thinking of students who maybe come from rural areas and are not used to having access to, 20 different offices that can go to ask for help. Students just are not used to it or aren't empowered to go into these offices to ask for help. And so the irony is that the students who probably, to be fair, need it the least, students who come from upper middle class families, students who are used to asking for help when needed or just having a second look on their essays, are the ones who are going to the writing center, are the ones who are asking for private math tutors if the school offers that. They're the ones who are going to office hours. And so the first thing we do is through messaging, through conferences, through panel conversations, we really nail this point home of, these resources are there for you, take advantage of them. And we can try and do warm introductions, but we don't see our job as necessarily hand-holding our students. Our job is to tell them, hey, here's what's out there. We really empower you to seek those resources. And if need be, we'll do a warm introduction, but it's really up to you to take advantage of them. And I think when students feel empowered, and especially as they see other students who are with similar backgrounds taking advantage of those resources, they start doing so as well. And it just leads to improvement in grades, retention in majors, as well as students just feeling empowered to try new internships, study abroad, etc. So that's one. Seems very simple, but highly encourage you to continue to nail that point home. The second thing is really the power of network. And so, we are a small staff in our office. We're about 50 strong. And so there's really only so much bandwidth we have. And so when we really try and nail this point home of networking with peers, networking with professors, it's not so much us thinking of I think networking has, for some reason, it has sort of negative connotations, especially for young students. But networking just means that you're building up essentially a list of individuals, acquaintances, friends, really close friends, family members, who you can tap into when you have questions, who you can share information with, and who can share information with you. And that really leads to just results for a lot of our students that they had never expected. Students who had never heard of a place like McKinsey & Company, all of a sudden, someone in their network shared a post about how excited they are for that internship, and now they're applying and are now working at McKinsey & Company. Students who had never considered going abroad, and they saw someone in their network going abroad. They asked a few questions and realized that there are funding opportunities through their colleges to do so. And so the networking component really helps in expanding horizons. And so we nail those 2 points home pretty hard in almost everything that we do. Alan?
Yeah, thanks. I absolutely agree with Daniel's points. And just to expand a little bit on that, and with the networking point, I think the value of community, peer community, is absolutely important in strengthening mentoring and advising in general. When students have the opportunity to connect with others who may be from similar backgrounds or have similar experiences and kind of go through those growing pains together, they recognize like we can actually move it together in a certain direction, and that there's power in sort of making those bonds and developing that camaraderie. And so I would definitely say that building community within the mentorship programs is incredibly important. I would also add that involving multiple stakeholders in terms of how you execute your programs can be really important. So there may be For example, with the Cook program, you have the educational advisor that serves in a certain capacity, but really that advisor is taking advantage of relationships that the student has with other people at the school, with certain family members, with coaches, people in the community, and trying to rally together around that student to make sure that they're supported, that they're all on the same page and understanding, what the challenges and obstacles might be, and really working towards the same goal along with the student. So I think recognizing that you don't have to do it alone as a solo mentor or a solo sort of director of a program, or even within your own organization, but that there are other organizations. Daniel mentioned the Youth Leadership Consortium, and we have the opportunity among a variety of different organizations to often work together and learn from each other. And so through those partnerships, I think we strengthen the mass impact of all of these students are that we're having on all of these students. So just sort of keeping that in mind as well, that multiple stakeholders can be an incredible value to you in that process of mentoring.
All right, Alan, I think there's specifically a question for you. It says, did you mention if your organization requested scholars to come and speak via Zoom?
Okay, yes. So, yes, sometimes that's definitely something that we're open to. I think the best way to approach that, if you have an opportunity that you would like to have someone represented at, to send us an email to scholarships with an S at jkcf.org. I will, say that our outreach team is a small but mighty. So there are currently 2 of us, and so we can't always fulfill every request. But we also have a variety of materials available on our website. We record webinars that are accessible, that you can view, and we also have other produced videos that sort of comment on different aspects of our program in more depth, and you get the chance to hear from Cook scholars about their experiences. So I would say, yes, shoot us an email, and it could be possible that we can, but if not, you can definitely revert to the materials on the website as well.
Alan, and I started typing in web pages, and so I know that you have a few links you might want to share, but there was actually a question. I also looked back, sort of did an audit. We missed a question that was posed at the very beginning, so let me go back and read it. The question is, how will you view the disruption of extracurricular activities? And I think you briefly addressed when you were discussing sort of expectations, but go ahead and talk about that, and then I'll take a stab from HSF's point of view.
Yeah, good question. So I think the way we view extracurricular activities in general, again, Daniel mentioned this with HSF, we really are very interested in students that exhibit leadership and that are involved in community service and other activities. And so we're looking for the depth to which they're involved in certain activities and their level of commitment. So not necessarily a certain number of volunteer hours or, to be involved in as many opportunities as possible. It's not really a numbers game, but more so their level of commitment, their passion, and their reasons for why they're committed to certain activities. So we'll still be looking for that as part of the selection criteria, with the caveat that we know that, again, students may have had to take a break or a pause on, for example, a project that they may have been involved in, or may not have been able to accumulate or reach the actual goal that they set for themselves by the end of the year because of the restrictions and limitations of COVID. So it'll always be case by case, but the thing that we're looking for is still going to be that depth and that commitment to those activities. Good question.
Yeah, from our organization's perspective, it's very similar. A lot of the same points that Alan made. The reality is it was a big break, and no, one of those things that just you can't predict. And obviously a lot of the things that happen to students in their educational experience, or extracurricular experience, was out of their control. So we will be looking closely at everything that was done prior to. So really looking at all the activities and the transcript prior to January of this year. And then for everything, this past term, which includes potentially different types of grades, even maybe like a slightly downward trend in grades, extracurriculars that have been put on hold, Some students have not been able to sit for standardized testing, things of that nature. We will be evaluating, obviously, with the understanding the context and being more understanding than in previous years when students have had to drop other extracurricular activities or just were not able to submit an exam. And we always look at that. We always ask for more information when we have questions. But I think this year, where it's a year where I think almost everyone will be in the same boat, and so just we're going to definitely do our best to be as empathetic, as understanding as possible for all those cases. And the great thing is when we have questions, we're not afraid to pick up the phone. And so I imagine we'll be making a lot of calls just to better understand certain situations. I think there's closing remarks have started, and so I think they're going to start tuning out. But there is one last question, which I definitely want Alan to just, from Geneva, which says that they saw the application close in October 2020. And so that would be for current seniors to apply and award in spring or summer of 2021.
Yes, that's correct. So the application now, it closes on October 30th for the college scholarship. And yes, that means we would award those scholarships in the spring of 2021 for, again, current high school seniors that will be starting college in the fall of 2021. Yep.
And so with that, I think we're coming to a close. The closing remarks have started on the main stage. And so thank you, everyone. We posted websites. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach us. We have Message Center on all those websites. I think Alan shared his email as well. So we're always happy to help. But thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.